It still feels like heaven, 'cause we don't let the bad vibes get in, we don't let them win. Testify to the strength of a true bond, flying high over the heads of a rude mob, staying at the revolution of the whole cloud, kill 'em all with love. I don't care if they're talking about us. No, I don't care if they put us down. No, I don't care if the sky falls around us. We're riding on a pink cloud. Oh, oh. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. I don't care. We're riding on a pink cloud. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. Our mother is the boom in the baseline. Our father is the backbeat halftime. They say we were born under a bad sign. We say yes, so what? We're the ones who create our own world. Friendly assassins known as pegboard. All glory and praise to the bad Lord. Kill 'em all with love. I don't care if they're talking about us. No, I don't care if they put us down. No, I don't care if the sky falls around us. We're riding on a pink cloud. Oh, oh. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. I don't care. We're riding on a pink cloud. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. We're riding on a pink cloud. We're riding on a pink cloud.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back as we're going to be hopping into Week 5, Day 2 of the Season 3 for Optimal League, brought to you by U.GG. On the blue side, we're going to have AK Gaming. On the red side, we are going to have Fallen Gaming. My name is Loud Thoughts. I'm joined by Obongo. And are you excited for this really intense match we have going on between the first and second place of the Lunar Conference here?
Learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, and they've already done their entire pick draft in Pro Pick, as we've said. So kind of just going through it. Gragas, Ari, Riven banned away right off the bat. On the other side, you have the bans being Zac, Caitlyn, Mordekaiser. And for your first rotation of picks, it's the Shen, or for them, or we'll just go through it off of this, because what you guys can see. It's Shen, Sylas, Pantheon, and then the Kled, Olaf, Echo being played here.
I must not fall.
And something I just want to talk about in particular for this matchup is going to be the Echo pick. It's a kind of underestimated pick right now, I think. It's received multiple buffs over the past several patches. His ultimate in particular being one of the huge buffs, as well as the W he just received in this last patch. He has a 2.25 second stun on his W if he lands it now, as well as the fact that his ultimate goes down to a 50-second base cooldown. And so you hit 40% CDR on him and you get it closer to, 25, 30 seconds there. It is going to be impossible to ever try and pick off this Echo in a team fight unless you can kill him twice, pretty much. And not only that, but typically he builds Zanyas, and so this champion doesn't lack in damage normally, and now his survivability and CC potential is just through the roof, honestly. So this Echo pick is going to be something I'm going to really be focused on in this upcoming game. Absolutely. On the other side, you do have the Olaf as well, who'd be able to deal with that CC, get onto the back line, but really, both of these teams, just kind of at the end of the day, summing up everything we've said, both want to brawl, both want to fight. You have Olaf, Kled, Echo, Kai'Sa, such a hard engage, want to go in, want to go deep kind of team comp. And on the other side, same exact thing, the Pantheon, the Lucian, Sylas, Shen, another scrappy, really brawl intensive 4-man unit there. And then you have the tanky supports to kind of help peel, provide a lot of CC wherever they can, and act as more of a front line there. So really all around very similar team compositions, just different ways of executing them based on which specific champions they're playing here. That being said, we got a minute and a half left before we get out of the spectator delay, so we're going to go ahead and throw it over to a quick break. We'll be back in just about a minute and a half here with the game itself, so don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
Summoner's Rift.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back as we're going to be hopping into the first game of the night. On the blue side, we have 8K Gaming with Shadowy Figure playing Shen in the top lane, Drops with Sideless jungle, Boon on Pantheon mid, and then Kali and D1 Nick with the Lucian Braum bot lane.
Minions have spawned.
Looks like we are going to be starting off with just some classic five-point starts here. 5-man defenses. Pantheon moving a little bit aggressively into that Echo there. Maybe they were trying to pick some kind of fight, but decided against it. So we already have so many pings being thrown back and forth. Honestly, these teams trying to get their communication started early, but what avail? Yeah, it looks like we actually do have a little bit of an offset for the junglers here. We do have Olaf on the top side, Silas on the bottom side, both decided to opt for their red, which means we can see some interesting pathing out of the Olaf or the Silas here. And I'm expecting these level 1 ganks to be very volatile because of that. It means there's not going to be anyone to respond when the junglers show up on one side of the map because they're going to be mismatched on opposite sides. Yeah, and there's also a lot of CC on the top side of the map. Shadowy Figure, though, getting jumped on. A lot of damage coming out from Lord Skippy here. He does find the bear trap on a rope, and he gets a second half as well. That's a healthy chunk taken out of the Shen, which means now he's got to be playing a little bit more defensive here as he's been forced to pop his potion and is still under half health. Yeah, he didn't have access to all of his abilities there, which means it was a... It says it can't hear you on stream. I wonder why. Okay, give me 1 second while I try and figure out what is going on with the stream here. Okay, go ahead and try and say something, Obongo.
An exciting farm battle in the bot lane, as we see here.
An exciting farm battle, battle in the bot lane. All right, cool. So I apologize for that. I had the same issue that I had last time. I finally did get something figured out though, and that was the price that I had to pay for making yesterday's stream so spicy for you guys. Ugh, I apologize. Alrighty.
Okay.
So
OL doesn't deserve to see my face just yet.
Alrighty, with that being said though, we haven't really had all too much going on across the map up to this point though. Echo in the mid lane is going in aggressively on Pantheon while we do have a fight going on bot side. That's going to be a lot of damage coming out by Kali, but unfortunately he takes the full passive proc from the Kaisa, which means a lot of damage returned back onto the AD carry for the damage they got onto the support.
Yeah, and I really like always having that trade in the AD carry health pool favor in that sense. It's always going to burn the pots. It's going to burn those biscuits out. You know, Alistar has pretty good amount of sustain with that roar, with that extra heal. So he'll naturally just be able to kind of get himself back up to full as it goes on, plus that Targon. So we'll see constantly being pushed under. This Lucian Braum doing a really good job, but At the same time, the Kais is farming pretty well. This is Void Bullet Angel's best champion by far, and definitely still showing some good mastery of that in the small ways as well.
And I definitely think that there's a lot of kill pressure coming out from the bot lane of Fallen Gaming here once they hit level 6 in particular. Kai'Sa's ultimate, I think, is just a little bit better for jumping onto an opponent, taking these 2v2 team fights in the bot side. Sure, you get access to the Braum ultimate, but I just think that the culling is kind of a weak mid-fight ability. That being said, we do have Olaf going in onto Sylas here. That is going to be the backup coming in from both mid laners, and that's going to be actually so much damage dropping down onto Olaf as the Shen ultimate comes out. Shadow Figure trying to get onto Lord Skippy, and that's going to be the double kill. Boone picking himself up a couple of kills.
Yeah, really good start off for Boone right there, and that's just how strong Pantheon is in the early game. He had just backed, gotten that serrated Dirk, already had himself a little bit of lethality in that play. Echo was not there to kind of help make that play. Lord Skippy did roam down. The big key difference, though, is that Olaf and Kled both were not level 6. They had no ability to access their ultimates, no ability to actually burst down this Sylas or the Pantheon as it went on. And because Pantheon is just such a strong brawler, as we can see right there with that trade, very difficult to actually beat him.
And something I'm kind of surprised to see is that Pantheon decided to go with Conquer as his Keystone Mastery rather than press the attack when laning. Conquer is pretty normal for the jungle, whereas if you're laning, typically you go press the attack. But that being said, again, Echo getting jumped on the bot side. He has forced to use the ultimate there. He's going to be able to get back into his stun, give himself a shield, but it's not going to be quite enough as Boone is on a killing spree, picking up himself up the 3rd kill of the game.
Yep, just more fighting. As we can see, the lockdown potential between that Pantheon and the Braum coming in clutch. Because this Lucian Braum have been pushing in the bot lane of Fallen Gaming for so long, they have access and avenue through the river to help out the Pantheon whenever they see a pick potential. And right there, just yet another nice lockup with those 2 stun abilities.
And at this point, you do have Pantheon. Boone sitting on that Pantheon. He has access to the Grand Starfall. And with him being played in the mid lane, that opens up a lot of avenues for him to be able to pressure these side waves as well. Because they killed the mid laner, it means that they have free access to this dragon for 8K Gaming, and they're going to be able to pick up the first Drake of the game, it being a mountain dragon, which is going to help with their siege potential, and more in particular with being able to take out turrets and barons as the game continues on.
Ooh, actually, Kled ultimate being stolen by Sylas earlier, now being the avenue in. Starfall as well goes down. Echo does fall right there. Another nice 4-man collapse into the mid lane. Pantheon 301 getting themselves a kill for the Lucian as well.
Yeah, that was just a great pick on the side of AK Gaming. Using the Kled ultimate, picking up a free kill. They knew that the Echo was all alone there. And so they had the 4-man dive. But now we're sitting at already a 2,000k gold lead at just 8.5 minutes into the game. No real pressure put onto any of these turrets yet, as the only plating fallen is that on the top side. Where are you expecting these junglers to go next to try and either even out this game on Sasuke's side or kind of break this game wide open by drops?
I totally expect them to kind of overload onto bot side. Void Bullet Angel has been kind of quietly farming down there, constantly pushed in. Really hasn't had a chance to actually get involved in any of these plays, and it's just really difficult with the Lucian and Braum constantly pressuring him, pushing him in, and making his life a real difficulty trying to get out of this lane and get himself into these fights. And with the effectively 2 global ults when Sylas steals that Kled ultimate as well as the Grand Starfall from the Pantheon, there's just so much roaming potential and so much overwhelming potential they can kind of throw down into this bot lane. So I fully expect both sides to kind of put a little bit more focus down in the bot lane, seeing as the Shen and the Kled kind of can both respond in their own ways globally.
Yeah, and I would hope to see for Drops himself, if he wants to try and blow this game open, that he try and put a little bit of pressure towards the top side. We see Boone's going in trading once again. But as I was saying, if Drops can put pressure towards the top side and dive the Kled using the Pantheon gank as well in Grand Starfall, picking up the Rift Herald would absolutely blow this game wide open. And that's exactly what it looks like they're doing here, as Sylas is going to be going up to the top side. Charge is used to keep himself safe, but AK Gaming, on top of the play that I was just describing there, they're trying to get some pressure to pick up this Rift Herald. Are they going to be able to start it here?
It's definitely really good that they're able to burn that Kled ultimate just from the amount of pressure, because now Lord Skippy doesn't have TP, he doesn't have that ultimate to get back into the fray. So like you were saying, this should be a pretty easy Rift Herald pickup. I don't believe that they have the ability to contest, especially with this bot lane now showing up to help out as well.
Yeah, great rotation there by 8K Gaming, being on top of the play, aggressively going towards the top side, forcing the Kled to back. He no longer has his ult or his teleport, which means you have all the pressure around that Herald pit, and so you pick it up at 10 minutes, and now it looks like they're just going to run it straight over towards mid, drop it down, try and pick up some turret platings from themselves, if not the first brick.
This is a really good macro play by 8K Gaming, immediately taking the Herald and throwing it down to get some turret plates for themselves, all of it actually going to that Lucian, so way to snowball him for gold even harder. Not really going to be able to take the tower, kind of a little bit of an ARAM in this mid lane so far, but kind of mission accomplished to be able to get more gold onto this Lucian to kind of continue that snowball that he's trying to roll.
Yeah, and you know, I was hoping for a little bit more. Dropping the Rift Herald right off the bat sure gives you a couple of platings, but I think that they held on to it for just a tad bit longer, figured out where they can make another rotation. They still did have about another 3.5 minutes before turret platings drop. If Rift Herald even lasts that long, you would have multiple opportunities to make a play with it. Dropping it mid lane when everyone's already starting to gather there makes it a little bit too straightforward, I would say. So Fallen Gaming was able to respond to it, and they got a couple of platings, but not the best of Rift Herald plays.
Even another option that they could go for is up into that top lane as well. You already saw how much pressure they were able to put on Lord Skippy just by kind of showing up. Imagine if they took that Rift Herald and then immediately went up into the top lane to try to get that outer tower knocked down with the three of them. Pretty good potential, I would say, there, but either way, was pretty good that they were able to siphon all of that gold onto the Lucian. He should be feeling pretty good about himself as he continues to just kind of pressure. And as we're seeing this 3-man roam squad just constantly moving up and down this river, looking for any kind of picks that they can go for.
Yeah, this is really where AK Gaming starts showing a lot of their strengths. Like you said, they're starting to group together roam squad this. AK Gaming has been on top of their team-based plays this entire season so far. They know when they can gather up, use the pressure that they have by pushing out these waves in order to go for a play like this, where Boone is now showing up in the top side. He gets the gank down on the Lord Skippy. Scarl already forced out, flash away, uses the Q for a little bit of extra distance, but that is going to be too much damage and too much tankiness. Drops, meanwhile, finding his way onto the Echo Sim Lights, finds the stun. Remember, that's 2.25 seconds, but Shen ultimate coming out right now means that Echo is going to get stunned up. That is Olaf running forward. He drops the Ragnarok in order to keep himself from being stunned here. W coming out from Shen means that Olaf auto attacks are not going to be doing anything, and Drops is able to pick up that kill for himself.
And we're seeing just the utility of how good that Shen W is, blocking all the auto attacks machines. Olaf's natural ability of dueling and healing is just so much more difficult to actually pull off.
A lot more trading going on down bot side, though. That's Braum ultimate use. The Culling is going to be able to pick this one up. It is not, as Alistar is forced to use his ultimate and the minions in order to keep themselves alive. Drops almost catching on to Sim Lights there, but not quite.
And this means that AK Gaming is going to be able to break this mid tower already, the first of the outer towers to go down. Going to get some more tower plates down in the bot lane as well for themselves. And pretty dominant early game by 8K Gaming so far across all standards. We'll see now maybe if Fallen Gaming wants to go for a counterattack around this blue buff, or they're just going to kind of walk around and try to defend this bot tower. However, that will fall as well. 2 towers going down.
And there was, as we were mentioning, that really comes into the part where we were saying that AK Gaming likes to play together as a team. Fallen Gaming, though, showing up in a 5-man force. They're going to try and contest this dragon. Immediately, Kled goes in. That is going to be the steal coming away by Olaf. Fantastic job there, is forcing the flash out of Boons and Drops to get out from that one. The retire side of AK Gaming is quite low here, which means Fallen Gaming is just going to take the dragon and back off rather than trying to force anything else.
And Fallen Gaming actually wins out on that trade, I feel, because they not only get the steal, they get the Shen TP out, and now all they really have to worry about is that Stand United, so one of the 2 teleports taken away from the side of 8K Gaming. It was very crucial that they get that steal, because if they do lose that Ocean Drag, sure, they'd lose the dragon, but they would have only come out with 1 win in that teleport. But because they're able to get both, that's a nice little way of stalling out a little bit more for themselves. Fallen Gaming definitely need to continue to make small plays like that to get themselves back into this game.
Yeah, and that was a great use of the aggression, knowing that even though they had lost the fights previously, they grouped up as 5, New Dragon was respawning, and used the fact that they were almost forced to reset, spend their gold, go back, that they could come back with, you know, max amount of items that they can. They have the cooldowns available, so they grouped up as 5, contested that dragon. So just a good return on pressure there, because AK Gaming hadn't backed up to that point either, and so forcing a lot out of AK Gaming there means that they're going to have a little bit of pressure in their favor for the next few minutes. Now, where they go from here is up to them. I'm interested to see what Fallen Gaming wants to do with the pressure that they've now just received.
And another kind of smaller thing as well, because that Stand United was down, Shen had no way of actually assisting his team cross-map. Sure, the teleport was nice to kind of get them away. There's a little bit of a fight going on here.
Boone going a little bit aggressive. That is going to be the Stand United blown as well there. All because of Boone just going in aggressively and not having the ward coverage to know that the entire enemy team was coming in to collapse.
And all while that is going on in the mid lane, this top lane outer tower is going down. The Lucian Braum continuing to move around the map and just continuing to try to find these kills.
Ooh, Drop's getting jumped on. That's going to be the killer instinct coming out from Void Bullet Angel. He flashes forward. That lost out on tech is not going to kill, as Drops is able to make it to the Rift Scuttle and run away from that one.
That is one of the worst feelings as a Kaisa, to just have about 1 to 5 HP with that passive proc not quite finishing him off. See, don't even think they're going to be able to get any damage onto this mid tower. Looks like they'll just have to kind of walk away. Quite a bit actually expended by Void Bullet Angel, Killer Instinct, and the Flash, so he's going to be a little bit more vulnerable now as this game goes on. Looks like he's actually going for that BF double pickaxe build. So he's got, I think he's got his first upgrade already for his Q just from those 3 items, and he'll be getting that attack speed one a little bit later on once he starts finishing.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting build, but I can see where it comes into play in terms of being able to provide the immediate Q upgrade, something important for damage trading as well as for clearing minion waves. Honestly, being shoved in under turret as he was all early game, just buying the components would make that clear the bot wave a little bit easier. That being said, though, Shen, without TP, without Stand United, is sitting in the bot lane. There is no Baron up quite yet to pressure him towards the top side of the map, so he's just taking the opportunity while he still can to try and gain some pressure down on the bottom lane.
Yep, he does not need to be anywhere other than this bot lane. No Baron means that the TP and Stand United deficit don't really matter too much in this case. He'll just be able to kind of keep pressuring down onto this bot inner tower, or get a little bit of minion chip damage if possible. And in the next 2 minutes, I expect to see both these teams put a lot more priority on this top side. AK Gaming has a team comp that can very easily do Baron right at that 20-minute mark if they're given the opportunity. So I fully expect to see them at least looking for some of these advantageous warding plays. But Dragon is also coming up in less than a minute. That is probably going to be their focus in the short term.
Yeah, and it seems like AK Gaming has already started applying that pressure towards the top side, as you mentioned, because they've put down so many wards covering this Baron pit. I mean, just look at that. 3 pink wards in the river around it, a couple of wards behind the pit itself, and they just picked up the scuttle. Once they pick up a couple more pink wards, they can rotate one into the pit itself to deny vision from Fallen Gaming here. But that being said, Fallen Gaming's ward coverage isn't too bad either. They did previously have a line going across the entire jungle. They just need to try and reset those right now while they still have a chance before this Baron spawns.
And actually, all 5 pink wards, I believe, from AK Gaming are out on the map right now. So definitely using that vision to its maximum efficiency right there. It is important to note, though, that most of those pinks are not very aggressive. They're very defensive in the river, like you were saying. Nothing super pushed into the side of Fallen Gaming's jungle, and we'll probably start seeing that as the Baron begins spawning. It's only a Cloud Drake right here, so I don't expect Fallen Gaming to really feel too much pressure to actually try to contest for this one, which should give them some more time to focus on their top side vision around the Baron.
Yeah, it looks like they're already trying to sneak into this top side, get some more aggressive pink wards down. We saw Slayer MVX just get one into the back of the pit, so they do finally have vision on the Baron, as it is going to be spawning right now. That being said, AK Gaming moving in, clearing out some more wards, getting the pressure through the mid lane as they just finished shoving out the wave. they're going to be looking for some play. They're going to be looking for a play very soon here.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be the game of pick or be picked right now, trying to go for this vision. We'll see which side it looks like. The side of AK Gaming has a good vantage point right there.
That was a great undertow coming up by Sasuke there, not walking into that one. That was a Fnatic death bush if I've ever seen one. So he was able to see those members out, or at least know that he hit somebody by the sound of the axe going through it. So fantastic job, not just blindly walking into the enemy jungle, but this pink ward has been seen out by the side of AK Gaming. They're going to be able to clear that one out, and this Baron Pit is dark once again.
And it's pretty nice on the side of Fallen Gaming. They have a couple of abilities that allow them to scout when that blue trinket is not available for them. So with the Olaf Undertow and that Void Seeker from the Kaisa, very easy for them to kind of check these bushes, check where they want to before they actually have to go into the Baron. And like we already mentioned, that pink ward in the back of the pit is really just the most important piece of vision they have. It means they know they don't have to worry about walking up as long as they see it not being started.
It looks like both teams are going to be backing off from that Baron Pit. And so they're going to try and gain some pressure around the rest of the map. Shen does have access to his teleport once again. The Stand United is up as well. Meanwhile, Kled has access to his teleport and the charge. So really across the board, almost all summoner spells are up and available at the moment. And as well as all ultimates. So both of these teams taking it quite slow at the moment. Despite the fact that AK Gaming is 7,500 gold in the lead.
And this is definitely what I feel like we normally would see from 8K Gaming. They're not necessarily the most bloody team. They don't always just go for kills. It feels like they try to suffocate with macro. They care more about getting the fundamentals right of how they go about something, which in return will make the game slow down a little bit because they're not just constantly running through the jungle looking for picks whenever they have the opportunity. They want to be able to set up with vision first before they go for anything. They want to make sure those plays are very high probability of success for themselves.
Shadowy Figure going in, finds the taunt, is forced to put down the W as Lord Skippy getting the worst half of that trade there. A little bit of a wet noodle fight going on the top side of the map, to be completely honest with you. Another taunt, though, means that Scarl is going to get knocked off here. Quite a good amount of damage being engaged by Shadowy Figure. That's actually a lot of pressure that has now gone in favor of this Shen, and I'm surprised to see that these fights are going so heavily for AK Gaming and Shadowy Figure here.
Yeah, Shen, once he gets a couple armor items on for himself, and he just has a lot of max health damage and base damage that he can use against the Kled. If Kled is not able to use his W against the Shen in these side lane trades, it's pretty heavily Shen favored because he'll get at least 2 to 3 grass procs down throughout the entirety of the trade, and as that continues, it's just so much percent health damage that Kled really wants to try to avoid.
And what's surprising to me is that Shen is winning these trades despite the fact that he has not opted into a Tiamat or a Titanic Hydra. Typically, that's a first item rush on most Shens, but instead, he's went for the Sunfire Cape and Warden's Mail on top of Ionian Boots here, which is an interesting build, I will say. I'm not a huge fan of it myself, but if he's winning the trades, he's winning the trades, and you can't really complain at that.
Yeah, the Ionian Boots are pretty interesting. I feel like it's just to kind of give him a leg up in the cross-map plays. Having that cooldown for his ultimate a lot shorter, having the cooldown for his teleport a lot shorter too from the Ionian. And here we go. Now we are seeing AK Gaming feeling like they are confident to actually go for a Baron. The culling being used by the Lucian, trying to speed up that process.
Yeah, culling being used, very interesting. Lucian will not have access to that ultimate. AK Gaming force off of this Baron as that's going to be drops going forward. They find their way onto the Alistar. Braum going in as well. D1 Nick isolate himself is going to be picked up by Olaf. First kill of the fight. Shadow Figure finds his way in using the Stand United. Void Bullet Angel doing a fantastic job at kiting this one out, though. Boone is unstoppable. He picks up the enemy support, drops, finds forward, and is able to get on the sim lights before he's even able to use his own ultimate. And a flash forward from this Pantheon means he is able to pick up yet another kill, and it's going to be a 4-for-1 at the end of the day. AK Gaming wins the fight.
Yep, and that was just kind of the gold lead that we've seen them amassing so far throughout this early and mid game finally come to a halt right there, right into Fallen Gaming. They're just so much tankier and they do so much more damage. We thought maybe with that Kled kind of coming in from the bottom on the flank, maybe they would have a chance. But as soon as Shadowy Figure came out of his ultimate and taunted onto Void Bullet Angel, his health just dropped immediately. And once Kaisa is out of the fight right there, not able to put any damage down onto the back line of 8K Gaming, well, as we saw, that team fight completely swings the other way.
Yeah, and the part that I found interesting about that is also D1 Nick, flash forward, he got the Glacial Fissure out, and it looked like a little bit of an int play, not gonna lie, but what he really did there is he provided CC, stopping Slayer MVX from diving onto his backline or allowing Force Asuk or Simlights to get onto the backline either, because where he placed the fissure was in the middle of that choke point, and so there was that large, massive slow zone, really doing a fantastic job at splitting up Fallen Gaming. So yes, you sacrifice your support, he can't peel anymore, but he did his job in terms of splitting up the fight and providing an avenue for the rest of his team to take the little fights that they needed and come out ahead.
And Shen will just continue to kind of wail down on this top tower, constantly pushing in with the Baron's side pressure. And at this point, when you're the Shen, it feels really good just knowing that you can sit in that side lane indefinitely until your team needs you. So he'll just kind of keep sitting up there as the rest of his team looks to try to pressure this mid-inner tower, almost going down. Now starting to move themselves into the top side jungle to rotate up to this top tower, potentially to try to take that one out as well.
Yeah, and fantastic group play once again coming out by 8K Gaming here, and they know they want to have their Shen split push, but when they don't have a minion wave ready and available in the mid lane, they rotate up towards the top side to provide pressure to make sure that the Shen isn't getting 1v4'd or dived by the opposing team. But they're now going to rotate back mid lane now that the minion wave is there, so that they can pick up that first inner turret of the game, and Shen is still topside, is going to be able to pick up that one as well, while pressure goes on to the inhib turret mid lane.
Yep, and right now this 4-man unit doesn't need to really do anything. They just need to buy time for the Shen to keep pushing up in the top lane. Even bot lane they could potentially rotate to, because that big minion wave is going. Actually, Pantheon uses his ultimate to rotate down there, so getting themselves even more time with the Baron minions into the bot lane. Right now they've got 3 different sets of lanes with these Baron minions, so really trying to utilize this in the most 1-3-1 style possible.
Yeah, and I think they're doing a fantastic job here. They have that huge minion wave available bot side, and they're going to just take the double empowered cannon minions to the bank there as they're able to pick up the first inhibitor turret of the game on the bot side. And meanwhile, Shen is still top, and he's on the inhibitor turret up there, which means they get yet another objective off of this play. And now they've all rotated towards mid lane. Shadowy Figure going in aggressively on this onto Lord Skippy, but he's going to get pulled back here. He does not have his flash available, and it looks like the rest of Fallen Gaming is rotating over. Shadowy Figure will be dropping down. But that being said, they lose their Alistar in the process as they left him all alone in the mid lane, and Inhibitor is going to be dropping down as well.
And that's the play that Fallen Gaming has to make. They need to attack either the 4-man unit or the split pusher. In that case, the Shen can't ultimate himself, so he's a little bit more susceptible to that play. Because of that, I would say hesitation on the side of Fallen Gaming, they still do end up losing both inhibs. Might even end up losing the third, depending on how long they actually want to stay here.
Yeah, this Echo W might be huge. That was going to be D1 Nick getting stunned up. Simulites is going to be able to pick up the kill. The Glacial Fissure does not come out yet. So Sook forced to use Ragnarok in order to run away there, but they get a free pick up, and I think that's going to be the end of the Baron power play. And AK Gaming is going to be forced to back off here. Staying very aggressive still, though. They want this inhibitor. They're not actually backing off. They're going to try and force this play. That is going to be the charge coming out by Pled here. He's a little short-handed on it, but they're able to find their way onto Boons. Kali trying to cut this one out. Simulites finds his way onto the Lucian, but is not able to get his ultimate off once again as Boon picks up that one. He's going to be popping his GA, dropping extremely low here. Does not have his flash available, but the Shen Stand United does come out too late. Void Bullet Angel able to pick that one up. Kali left alone as well, so Suka's able to find his way on to the AD carry. But again, Void Bullet Angel cleans up another one, is able to pick up a second kill for himself. And just like that, they turn that one around.
That was definitely overstaying by AK Gaming. I could see what they were trying to do. As soon as the Shen was respawning with like about 3 seconds, he was just sitting in the base looking for a good chance to ult, but it was just not really meant to be because it was 5v4 at that point. Fallen Crusaders, the members that had gone down before, were able to respawn and rejoin the fight. Definitely lose out on the overall macro play because of those 2 inhibs, but I mean, they've given a lot of shutdown gold over to Void Bullet Angel. Already 3 items, and now the completed Berserker's Greaves as well, buying himself a stopwatch for that defensive item. he does have the potential to actually carry this if he is given time to actually free hit. The question is whether that Shen W is going to be down throughout the fight and used efficiently, because that's definitely been the thing that's been giving him the most trouble in these fights so far.
Yeah, and something to keep in mind, as we were saying, Void Bullet Angel now hitting that 3-item power spike, and I love the build in particular that he's going for here. He knows these are going to be long, extended team fights with the Pantheon, with the Shen Ultimate, with the Silas, Braum Lucian, all of these things very aggressive. That being said, Shadowy Figure getting jumped on. Takes a good chunk of damage, but it looks like he's going to be able to get out safe there. But something I was going to... Ooh, go for it.
Go ahead. Okay. I was just going to say that he has that Warmog, so even any kind of trade that you go for in that sense, literally he's back to full HP right after that. So his ability to go for the face check, very easy in that case.
Yeah, and kind of what I was getting to there is this Kai'Sa is going to be a late game threat, whereas Pantheon is still known for falling off super hard in the later stages of the game. Sure, his early pressure is fantastic, but he's sitting on 3 items to completed GA, and at some point, he's going to just stop doing so much damage. It just kind of happens with Pantheon. That's how his kit is built around, whereas Kai'Sa only scales harder and harder into the late game with the percentage health damage, with the increased attack speed. Everything that Kai'Sa builds really helps her do more and more damage, especially versus the team AK Gaming has drafted. That being said, again, AK Gaming is starting up this Baron. There is no Blast Cone. Sasuke's going to have to flash over the wall on a one-way chip if he wants to make this one started, but Shadowy Figure goes into the backline, drops his Opal jumping in there. No one is on Void Bullet Angel, and yet this time Echo's able to get the ultimate off. So much back and forth fighting, but Kali's able to find the first kill of the fight, which is going to be ASR going down. Double kill for Kali. He's able to pick up the Kled as well. Shadowy Figure flashes forward. Void Bullet Angel is doing his best to try and cut this one out, but that's going to be a triple kill for Lucian as Boons picks up Void Bullet Angel. Only Sasuke is running away. This is going to be the game. Teleport used. Mantheon drop blown as well. They're getting onto the first Nexus turret. They're going to be getting onto the second Nexus turret. Sasuke knows he cannot survive, so he runs the other way. And that is going to be the Nexus dropping down as 8K Gaming secures their first place spot by picking up this first win of the night.
Yeah, very impressive as always from 8K Gaming. I feel like every time we see them on the stream, they display really good macro, and they just have a lot of good things going for them. So definitely looking like a good contender heading themselves into playoffs with about 1 week left. We'll see where that next week will take them. And I actually didn't really think about this until now. Looking at 8K Gaming's team comp, it's actually really difficult for Void Bullet Angel to be able to do anything, because they effectively have 2 Braum shields on the side of 8K Gaming with Boons, Pantheon, E, as well as D1 Nyx Braum shield. And then Shadowy Figure with that W from Shen effectively canceling out auto attacks. That's effectively the entire team fight where you're not able to auto attack or do very much damage to anybody on the side of 8K Gaming. So even though Void Bullet Angel definitely had a very good performance for himself, not really able to take advantage of it because of how well 8K Gaming drafted that team comp.
Yeah, and with that, I think AK Gaming... So, Taco corrected me in chat. AK Gaming is going to pick up a win there. Now, as long as they win their next game, they will secure the first place, I do believe, because they only have 2 games left. If they drop both of their next games and Fallen Gaming wins their next 2 games, it means that they will be tied for first. So this requires AK Gaming to lose 2 games. They're going to be playing against G7 Dusk in the next hour, and then next week I think they are playing against CSU Rams or Cuddle Bunch as well. So they actually have 3 games. Surprising, huh? Okay. So with that, they're close to locking it in. I'll say if they win this next one that they'll have it locked in, at least a tie for first place. But that being said, they are looking extremely strong. They definitely look like our first place team, and seeing as how they just beat in a commanding fashion there, really, the second place out of Lunar Conference, I'm very confident in AK Gaming coming out with that first place bye.
Yep, definitely looking like a strong performance for 8K Gaming in their first game of the night. Next, we will be going into our next game, which is going to be Soulbound Lightning and Asura. But before we go there, we're going to take a quick break, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back with the second game of the night.
this. When you come home, I'll hide the gun. I'll never cry again. When you come home, come home, come home to me. When you come when you come in pictures, I'd see it. You weren't really there. In truth, I still feel it hanging in the air. When you come come home, when you come home, I'll start this. When you come home, I'll hide the gun. I'll never cry again. When you come home, when you come home. should be present. Find my independence. Breathing, doing this on my own. Then I start to remember just why I surrendered. Felt so good that I can't let go. And I'm back to where I was again. Take you in as you take me out. Cut this string, I'm getting higher and I can't seem to calm down. Tell me, how can I wait? Tell me, how can I take a chance on it all? Cut this string, I'm getting higher and I can't seem to calm down. Shapeshift, you deceive me. Make me think that I need more from you than you will give out. Why can't I just listen? I create my prison. I'm chained by my own heart and mind. And I'm back to where I was again. Take you in as you take me out. Cut this string, I'm getting higher and I can't seem to calm down. Tell me, how can I wait? Tell me, how can I take a chance on it all? Cut this string, I'm getting higher and I can't seem to calm down.
You can't see what's right in front of you. You're doing things that I would never do. Open your eyes and you won't be confused. Can't hear a single person's point of view. Know from the start what this is coming to. Put up your guard but I can see straight through. Leave you to die or end up killing you. Playing a game that you will always lose. still and be us. You know how it feels to need love. I feel the ground beneath us move, and you know how it feels to need love. Do I need love? I feel the ground beneath us move, and you know how it feels to need love. Do I need love? I feel the ground beneath us move, and you know how it feels to need love. Do I feel the ground beneath us move, and you know how it feels to need love. Do
Sounds apocalyptic. I'm centuries ahead of them. I'll make my own future.
All systems fully charged.
Systems charged. Time for a true display.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back as we're going to be hopping into the second game of the night. This is week 5, day 2, brought to you by U.GG. On the blue side, we are actually going to have Soulbound Lightning. I forgot to change that. And on the red side, we are going to have Azura. Hopping straight into pick and bans. They've already done all this in Pro Draft, which means we're just going to be running through it super quick. Rise, Hecarim being the first ones, as well as Anivia and Annie. I think Azura actually lost all of their bans.
Yep, so Asura does not have any bans for this game, so they're just going to be banning random stuff to kind of speed up the process for that. So first 3 rotation for Soulbound Lightning is going to be the Nautilus, Sivir, and Jarvan in that order. And then for Asura, it was the Kaisa, Leona, and the Sylas.
Yeah, and going through all the pick bans, we'll see the rest of the picks as they pop up. So you're just going to be blowing through this extremely quickly. We see the Kled, we see the Jarvan. The final pick here is going to be that Orianna, as we mentioned already. Meanwhile, Kennen, Sylas, and I do believe the Aurelia is being picked up in the mid lane. So a lot of team fighting I see already. They have the Kennen, they have the Sylas who can steal Jarvan or Orianna, as well as the Aurelia. Then on the other side, Kled, Jarvan, Orianna, again, all engage, all AoE, trying to look for these team fights, very brawly, scrappy kind of team compositions.
Yeah, and it'll definitely come down to whoever initiates first. That's kind of the case with both of these team comps, as we'll probably see once we get into the game. Both sides have really good engage. Both sides have agency to start a fight on their own terms. I feel like Soulbound Lightning might have a little bit of an advantage because they have that Sivir ult and Kled ultimate as well. So, excuse me. I do expect to see them probably be the ones that pull the trigger slightly more often than Asura, but both sides definitely have the ability to do.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and take over the talking for a second. It sounds like you got a case of the hiccups there, Ovanga, so I'll let you try and
Yes, sir.
calm those ones down for a second here. So we'll kind of go over the rest of these team comps. As we were saying, we have rounded out the finals of these team compositions. It is going to be the Kaisa, Leona, and the Sivir and Nautilus picked up for the bot lanes. And so as you were mentioning, a lot of fighting, a lot of scrappiness going on here. So much CC being brought in by both of these teams. In terms of which composition I favor a little bit more, I think it comes down to, honestly, I like Soulbound Lightning's better. I think that they just have a little bit more wave clear, which is going to be really huge in this particular game, considering both of these teams want to fight constantly, which means it's going to be all about the tempo. Sivir is like the only real super wave clear heavy champion that we have in this entire game. Kennen doesn't clear wave super fast unless he's willing to commit his E, which he doesn't want to do when team fights are starting to break out. Aurelia has to dash forward. Kai'Sa, even in herself, doesn't have the best wave clear. I think at the end of the day, it's really the Sivir pick and the safe farming from Orianna that's going to allow for them to have that tempo abusing the minion waves. That's going to bring a lot of the potential for outplay coming into Soulbound Lightning's favor. But that's not to say that, you know, the side of Azura can't win this one as well. They do have a lot of CC, a lot of engage potential. I think that to some degree, a lot of their engage is not as one-directional as Soulbound Lightnings. You have Kled and you have Jarvan, you have Nautilus, who all have to force themselves to go in, but lack any way of getting back out once they've engaged into these fights. Whereas Aurelia can dash in and out of fights. Silas is pretty good about dashing around fights as well. The only real person that I see being a one-way trip is going to be a Leona or a Kai'Sa. And so a lot more options for Azura to be working with here. On top of the fact that really this middle lane matchup is going to be quite volatile. So did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I think the wave clear point that you mentioned before, definitely the big factor for me, just kind of looking at Soulbound Lightning's team comp. In terms of a phrase I like to use is like ease of execution, and
They're not done.
I don't think they're going anyway anytime soon. Ease of execution for Soulbound is definitely a lot better, I would say, just because all of their stuff is very direct, very point and click. The Nautilus ultimate, very easy. The Sivir ultimate, you just press R and everyone gets to move faster. Same thing with the Kled. Whereas Asura needs to outplay Soulbound for them to be able to get an advantage. They have champions that actually have a fair amount of skill expression to them, and they do have some good point and click for themselves with that Leona, the Kennen as well. Just in terms of raw AoE though, I feel like Soulbound kind of has a bit of an advantage in that, but I think that what Silas ult is stolen per team fight is probably going to make a pretty big difference, because a lot of the engage tools that Soulbound Lightning have on their end can completely be taken and turned around on them by this Silas pick. So I'm very interested to see how Treyarch is actually going to pilot that champion as the mid game and late game kind of roll around.
Yeah, and with that, we're going to go ahead and take these last 20 seconds or so and throw it over to a quick break as we get ready for this game that's about to come in. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back in just a second. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back as we're going to be hopping into Game 2 of the night. On the blue side, we have Soulbound Lightning with Senior Picante playing the Kled top lane, X-Forge with the Jarvan jungle, Luigi Mash with Orianna mid, and Wyja and Brush playing the Sivir Nautilus bot lane.
Yep, and on the red side, we have Asura Gaming. That's going to be Nax on the Kennen in the top lane, Treyarch with the Sylas in the jungle, Exiled v Shaman piloting the Aurelia mid, and 7 and 2nd on the Kaisa Leona bot lane.
Yeah, and in case you guys weren't aware, Nax is going to be emergency sub for Azura for this game. That's why they lost their bans for this game. So already we see just the 5-man defense, 5-point defense. Typical standard start here. It looks like we are going to have Sylas jungle starting on the top side of the map at this red buff. So again, another game where junglers are mismatched across opposite sides of the map for their first jungle clear.
Yeah, and I think that in the end, this is probably going to be to the benefit of Soulbound Lightning more likely than for Asura. I think that Jarvan just has a lot easier of a time ganking the lanes of Asura rather than vice versa for this Sylas, at least from like the levels maybe 2 to 3 area. So if Jarvan wants to make a play like, say, bot lane, they have the tools to go for an engage with the Nautilus down there. So I fully expect to see something like that. The Aurelia, I would say, because she's melee and kind of has to get into the face of the Orianna, probably can be baited pretty well unless Exiled v Shaman plays the lane and just kind of has good vision around.
Yeah, we're seeing standard jungle clear. A lot of trading going on back and forth in the mid lane. Exiled v Shaman trying to find damage onto Luigi Mash, but that Orianna, we mentioned it yesterday because we saw the same matchup going on, the Orianna into Aurelia, but it's really difficult for Aurelia to try and take these trades until level 2, because if you go too aggressive and you queue onto the Orianna without having that reset available, you actually take a lot of damage back from the Orianna's auto attack passives. That being said, we do have Jarvan already made his way onto the top side of the jungle. He's going to be going onto his blue buff rather than trying to clear his Raptors as Treyarch is doing, which means we may see the first gank of the game coming out soon here as X-Forge is going to clear that one up and start hitting up towards top.
Yep, and this is where Aurelia starts to kind of fight back a little bit in this lane once she has a couple of levels for herself.
X-Forge
does land the bear trap on the rogue, but will not be able to get the pullback in time for Jarvan to show up.
Yeah, and a great escape by Nax there. Being able to defuse that situation. Looks like X-Files the Shaman, though, might get ganked here. X-Forge is showing up behind him. Does not have a ward in order to know that this is happening. The Jarvan has made it into the lane. Got a lot of trading going on down bot side, but it looks like X-Forge is actually just going to back away on the top side of the map.
Yep, and he had that Sylas down there on the bot side, so I don't think they actually had the ability to gap close. Aurelia moved immediately as soon as she saw the Jarvan, and because Orianna was relatively low as well, she didn't really want to risk walking up too far. So it's just going to be the teleport burn for Shaman now in the mid lane. Luigi Mesh has that barrier, so will not have it to match for when they want to go back as well. Sylas going for a little bit of an invade while Jarvan heading up to this top side looking for Kennen again.
Yeah, and this might be the first successful gank by X-Forge. He's going to be coming in. He has not even used the EQ yet. Wants to save it to follow up this flash, which he does, and he's able to find it and gets the first blood.
Yep, really nice follow-up right there by the Jarvan, waiting out the flash and then immediately going in. Doesn't even have to burn his own flash in return. So that's going to be really useful and really helpful for this Jarvan as he continues down, but here is Sylas.
Treyarch is on the bot side. He finds the stun on a brush, but it's not going to get a whole lot besides that. Didn't even really get any damage with that knowledge. Just dropping the shield right away. Doesn't lose a sliver of health there. Treyarch trying to find some kind of answer to the early first blood that X-Forge was able to find for himself.
Yep, and this is what I was talking about, where I thought that the Jarvan early game would have a little bit easier of a time actually going for ganks. This Kennen and Aurelia are a lot more exposed because they don't have as much mobility to get out of any kind of ganks, and because Jarvan is just such an easy champion to gank with, we can already see him just affecting these two solo lanes of Asura.
Yeah, and I like to see that X-Forge is sitting up towards that top side of the map. You were saying, Kennen, he only really has his lightning dash in order to try and escape a gank, but that's not a pure dash in and of itself, so X-Forge can still get on top of the Kennen, especially now considering that the flash has been taken off from Nax. And so X-Forge sitting towards that top side of the map is exactly what you should be doing as a jungler, knowing that a laner does not have their flash available, and especially once this top laner has blown his teleport, and you just hard swing the favor of that matchup in the top lane towards Cedar Picante whenever you can.
Yep, and in this lane right now, in bot lane, the Kai'Sa actually has a pretty healthy farm lead for herself. Definitely very good, especially in a lane where I feel like she would normally be considered to be losing. I think that the pairing of the Kai'Sa Leona is better than that Sivir Nautilus. They don't really just have as much inherent synergy as some other duos in bot lane, so because of that, they just have the pressure to constantly look for plays, and going to be the tier build out for 7 on this Kai'Sa.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed to see that they picked up the tier first. In this build where you go into the Menamune, you always pick up the pickaxe first because you get nothing out of the tier, and you honestly don't tack this tier fast enough with your abilities in order to make it worth picking up early. It's really when you get the full Menamune that it actually starts stacking, because you get the mana procs on auto attack once you complete the item. Ezreal does fine with the tier because he picks it up and then spams Q, but Kai'Sa doesn't have anything that's nearly as spammable, so a little bit of an itemization issue coming out from 7 there, but it's not going to mean the end of the world. Just means she's going to have access to more mana and can use abilities more often here.
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I actually don't mind the tier build in a specific scenarios. I think that in this lane right now, where Nautilus really has no pressure to actually go for any kind of engage, it just allows Kai'Sa to free farm. I think her Q actually is a relatively spammable ability as she gets to like 3 points in it or so. So right now that she's got those 3 points in, all she has to really do is just keep spamming it to clear this wave, and she'll keep up with Sivir in terms of farm. I fully expect her to actually be beating the Sivir as the laning phase goes on. And when there's not really a lot of action or attention drawn to your bot lane when you are playing that Kai'Sa, it unlocks the ability to actually go for more of a scaling build. So I personally think that it's not a terrible, it's not a terrible item. Sure, they're not going to really be able to go for any engages, but that's not really what I would be expecting of the Kai'Sa to actually try to win this lane.
Yeah, we'll have to keep a close eye on the bot lane, see how it turns out. Does the tier actually work for them in terms of wave clearing? I think it definitely helps there. Or are they going to end up losing a fight due to the lack of damage? They do have Triarch sitting on this bottom side of the map. They're clearing out a pink ward in the river to try and give him a way into this fight. It also looks like they're rotating their Relia down. Something might be explosively happening on the bottom side in just a few seconds here.
Yeah, and because they actually see her on that pink ward behind, they realize something is up. They might be going for a potential play. So now it's going to be this Ocean Dragon, which will certainly help out all of the lanes across the board for Asura if they're able to secure it, which looks like they will because that Jarvan is heading back from base.
With the pink ward in the pit, that means that this dragon is going completely over to Asura Gaming. It gets reset soft there, but they're able to still pick that one up as there was no vision in the pit, so they didn't. So Soulbound Lightning did not have an idea that it was going on. That is a free dragon for Azura. And with that, we go back into the laning phase. And we were mentioning before that there's a little bit of a CS advantage in the bot lane, but it looks like... Actually, hold on a second. Brush moving forward. He's going to find the hook. Forces a flash out a second there. That was a close call by the bot lane of Azura Gaming.
Yep, and that's a completely necessary flash, because if she does not flash that right there, she will die with the Jarvan coming in tandem, as well as the general lockdown ability of the Nautilus. Just hit that level 6 as well, so it would have been a kill threat right there. Both junglers are now in this bot river looking, but a lot more vision in the favor of Asura to pink wards down in that river area.
So far, not a whole lot of action going on in this game. We've had Jarvan make the first successful gank on the top side, but besides that, not a whole lot going on. And taking a look at these team compositions, I'm not entirely sure which one of these teams comes out ahead through this scaling comp. Sure, you have the Sivir versus Kai'Sa, but the rest of the map is a little bit fuzzy for me.
It's pretty tough because, like we were talking about in Champ Select, it's so much more on Asura to make the plays and make the outplays for themselves, where it's technically good for them when they're not like super far behind. Like say they go for some early trades and they end up getting ganked and getting killed, much like that Kennen up in the top lane, but kind of happening across the board. That would definitely put them at much more of a disadvantage than I feel like they're at right now. I'm gonna wait to see when the potential 3v3 brawl between the Kennen, Silas, and Aurelia comes out, because I feel like in the pure 3v3 they actually do win that against their counterparts of the Orianna, Jarvan, and the Kled, just because of how much harder it would actually be to focus down somebody because of how mobile they are. But when you throw the Nautilus, when you throw the Sivir into the mix, I think that the 5v5 does still slightly favor Soulbound Lightning.
Yeah, we do have Triarch sitting on the top side of the map. He's trying to find a way on a Senior Picante here, but when the minion wave is that pushed far forward, it's a little difficult unless you're willing to commit to the complete tower dive. Instead, Silas backing off, but it's an interesting way of looking at how team fights are going to be breaking down. We'll have to really just wait and see if anything happens in the early game that's going to be explosive enough to give one of these teams a lead. But as of right now, we only have about 100-200 gold difference between the two teams, and a lot of that comes down to the farm advantage that Azura has slowly been occurring during this early laning phase.
Yeah, and the Klepto Kennen definitely helps out in that range versus melee matchup. I was a little bit surprised that Triarch didn't just kind of go up there and steal the Kled ultimate so that he could use it to gank other lanes. That's what we saw in the last game. We saw 8K Gaming going for a similar approach where they were stealing that Kled ultimate away. But all while that is going on, Soulbound Lightning is able to pick up the Rift Herald. Looks like they're going to be making a play right here. Charge goes forward. Yeah,
Charge going forward. It's able to find its way onto Nax. He uses the Slicing Maelstrom to stall for time, but X-Force drops a Cataclysm, able to pick that one up. That is going to actually be a teleport coming out from Exile Shaman, trying to get a return kill here, but Triarch going down in the mid lane to Luigi Mash on the 1v1, and Aurelia biting off a little bit more than she can chew. Dies on the top side for that teleport, is forced to flash away and still falls. Ooh, that is going to be 7, though. Continuing this fight with Waija. I thought they were out there, and that's why I didn't keep going, but uses the Killer Instinct, thinking that the passive is going to be enough damage in order to pick that one up. It's going to be 4 kills for Soulbound Lightning here, and they're going to get the first brick with the Rift Herald in the top lane.
Yeah, that was a complete win across the map for Soulbound Lightning right there. Really good play for them to go for that 3-man, getting the Nautilus to roam up to top lane to help out. Nax did his best, but unfortunately wasn't able to flash ahead of time, so he got followed by the Kled ultimate. And then I believe the Aurelia TP'd up right there right afterwards and kind of just met the same fate. Even in the bot lane, Waija going for that 1v2 play, getting dove by the Kai'Sa and the Leona, but just not able to actually find their mark on that. So all across the map right there, big win, and now we already see that gold lead up to 3K.
Yeah, and the Rift Herald being used in the top lane was kind of the cherry on the top of it all, because they were able to pick up so many turret platings as well as the first brick through that play. Now you're missing so many summoner spells on the side of Azura Gaming. They don't have a flash on their top laner, the jungler, the mid laner. You're barely getting your flashes back on your bot lane, but Killer Instinct is still not available for 7 here, which means a lot of the summoner spells are going to be an advantage of Soulbound Lightning, but it looks like they're going to be able to use that advantage to try and get directly onto this dragon and maybe force a fight around here, if not just get the objective.
Yeah, but they know that Triarch is sitting behind there. They pinged him out, and I think they saw him on a ward. Currently kind of running for his life right now. We'll see if he's able to make the grand escape. Kled looks like he is around. Wouldn't be surprised if he just goes for a full commit, but what does Asura get from this stall out? Looks like they're trying to get pressure on the top tower.
Yeah, it is
being taken down.
Yeah, there's nothing to commentate there. Senior Picante just cleaning that one up. It looked like Triarch had potential to execute, but instead he was looking for the great escape, as you mentioned. Ends up being found out by Senior Picante there, which means yet another kill in the pockets of this Kled. And now we're sitting at a 3,000 gold lead. The top lane turret is down, but it looks like Soulbound Lightning does not want to try and rotate any of their members for a macro play here, instead just opting to continue the laning phase as it is.
Yeah, and that's where they're starting to kind of get a little bit of a lead for themselves. The Sivir is very self-sustaining, hasn't gone back to base yet, I believe. So sitting on about 500-ish gold right now. Elected to go for those Berserker's Greaves as opposed to finishing out the IE. So
Brush?
another fight potentially starting here.
Yeah, Brush walking extremely far forward. That's a Cataclysm coming about by X-Forge immediately. The Aurelia ult comes out as well. Shockwave stalling for time. Triarch dropping extremely low, but X-Forge manages to keep himself like using the stopwatch. He's on a killing spree now. Aurelia trying to dash around these fights, and Kais is able to pick up the first kill for Azura Gaming here, but alas, the rest of her team has fallen down. Kennen coming in from behind, though. He does not have the stopwatch. Instead, he has a Gunblade. Is able to get a great slicing Maelstrom there. Seven still trying to kite this one out. Senior Picante has gone underneath turret, and is Luigi Match going to be able to finish this one off? He is not, as it is a 4-for-1 in favor of Soulbound Lightning.
Yeah, Nex had a pretty good TP flank right there. Oh man, I didn't even realize that the outer tower was still there. They dove pretty far under the towers for that play. But unfortunately, it was just a little bit too late. That would have been a potential 3-man slicing Maelstrom on the backline to follow up with the rest of Asura, but just falling a little bit flat because of how disjointed that play ended up being. So in the end, just another very one-sided victory for the side of Soulbound Lightning.
Yeah, and really got to give it out to X-Forge there as well. He played that team fight fantastically. Sure, he fell down, but he went in with the Cataclysm, bought time for Luigi Mash to come up and get a great 2-man Shockwave there. But more importantly, his stopwatch was on point in that fight. He was able to keep himself alive, as well as come in to get the first kill after the stopwatch had ended. And so just fantastically played by X-Forge, by the entirety of Soulbound Lightning there, as they're now able to pick up the bot lane outer turret and are going to be rotating towards the mid lane to try and pick up the last outer turret of the game.
Yep, it should be taken pretty easily. I don't expect too much of a contest. Nautilus Ultimate hijacked away by Triarch. Does give them a bit of a good engage tool along with that Leona Ultimate, but unless they have some kind of a man advantage, I don't see a fight that doesn't go the way of Soulbound Lightning.
Oh no, Triarch, he's getting caught out here. That is going to be the EQ, that is going to be the hook. He takes the Nautilus Ultimate to try and keep himself alive, but there's just too much damage. It looks like he's going to be dropping down. Flash over the wall is not going to be enough. The Shockwave, although coming up by Luigi Mash, is able to catch second out, and that is going to be 2 quick kills being picked up by Soulbound Lightning there. And now they've managed to find a great opportunity to get some ward coverage around this top side of the map.
Yep, and that should transition themselves into this top outer or inner tower. Don't expect the Kennen to be able to defend that 1v4. With the Demolish proc, they should be able to take it out pretty quickly for themselves. And just very one-sided domination for the side of Soulbound Lightning, not just in terms of the kills, but in terms of the macro and map play. They have so much pressure, and it feels like the way they've gotten the pressure has been pretty clean.
Yeah, and a lot of it's coming down to just great macro fights where they group up before Azura is prepared for it, and they're able to be there at the start of the fight as a 5-man unit or as a ball of death. Really, they did it at the turret dive at level. They did it at the turret dive at like 12 minutes into the game. They didn't get into the bot side, and so far Soulbound Lightning being on top of the plate before Azura is ready for a team fight. Triarch, a little bit of BM. But it looks like both teams are backing off and they're resetting for now.
Yep, gotta spend all that gold that they just got from those plays. Dragon is up in about a minute or so, and definitely expect them to put a lot more pressure down here, getting some ward coverage into the bot side of the jungle. Everyone on the top side mostly for them, so don't expect Asura to make any kind of aggressive moves just yet. They probably will have to give away this Baron in trade for some top lane pressure. We'll see how that's going to end up playing out, as the wave has not quite reached the tower just yet.
Yeah, the next dragon is going to be going over to Soulbound Lightning here. It's only an Ocean Drake, not the worst of dragons to have to give over for free. In return, they're going to be able to pick up some extra gold on the top side, but that is Kled Charge used into the mid lane. They're finding their way onto second here. He's going to be picked off quick, clean, and simple just like that. Senior Picante is able to pick that one up. And now all the minions available onto this mid lane turret are there. They're going to be able to respond to the top lane pressure with a mid-inner turret of their own.
Yeah, and Asura kind of just caught with their pants down right there. They tried to trade for the outer tower and top lane, but because of that, they're going to end up losing their inhib. They just committed too many members onto the top side, leaving the rest of their mid lane exposed, and because of that, they're able to take down this mid inhib.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you don't have enough members or when you put too many eggs into one basket, I should say. Everyone's showing up on the top side of the map by Azura. Meanwhile, Leona, the support, left all alone in the mid lane. They already had the minion wave starting to creep up on that inner turret there, which meant that it was just one Kled ultimate away. Second falls down. They're able to really run that one through. And meanwhile, everyone's still topside. They have to recall, which gives enough time for them to pick up the inhibitor. Fantastic job done there by Soulbound Lightning, pulling the trigger on that one. We are now 20 minutes into the game. About 6,500 gold lead for Soulbound Lightning, and Baron has just spawned.
And with the Baron spawning up right now, you fully expect to see the ward coverage shifting back from that bot side up to the top side of the jungle inside of Asura. Soulbound Lightning, I feel like, just has the ability to kind of walk into wherever they want as long as they have a group of people put together for that. And as we're already showing, they already have that mid lane priority because of the super minions that are shoving in right there. So I'm gonna go for some vision clear. Don't really expect too much of a contest by Asura. You'd only think that a steal is their best chance of getting themselves back into this game.
Senior Picante is on the bot side of the map to provide pressure, as we do have this Baron dance going on the top side. As you're mentioning, steal is probably the best option for Azura here, but during the meantime, they can try and stall out, get a little bit more gold onto their key members, develop whatever war coverage they can. That being said, X-Forge going in onto Triarch, only going to get the one quick auto attack as the Silas just backs out away from that one.
Giving him a little warning tap right there.
Oh no, 7 though. That is going to be the hook into the depth charge, into the stopwatch, which is not going to save you here. Luigi Mash is able to pick that one up using the dissonance, and they're going to quickly run over towards this blast cone. They're probably going to take it over to start up this Baron now that this Kaisa is dead.
Yep, this should be a pretty easy secure. Nautilus going to kind of run some interference to try to keep this Silas from getting into the pit. They'd get away from him though. They're even smite level as well, so this could actually be a pure 50-50 if given the opportunity. We'll see if they're able to go for it.
Ooh, flash over the wall. He's going to be going on to the Baron. That's going to be a great smite coming out from Triarch. He's able to pick that one up, but he's going to be sacrificing his life as that one. As Senior Picante also picks up a solo kill on the bot side of the map using the charge, but now 5 members alive for Soulbound Lightning, and they're going to try and force it down this mid lane. They do not have the Baron anymore, but they do have 2 extra kills. 7 though shows up in the bot lane, is able to pick up a kill for himself as Senior Picante falls to the Kaisa Killer Instinct.
And it's a bit of a shame that the game isn't actually a bit closer than it could be right now, because that steal completely would have turned the tide of the game in a closer gold lead. It will allow Asura to be able to stall out, kind of keep the forces of Soulbound Lightning out of their base, probably for at least a couple minutes. You would expect that after the Baron runs out, gives them a little bit more of an opportunity to push the pressure that they still have. Game's not over, or the game's not like completely come back as of right now, but it's a good first step for Asura if they want to try to get themselves back into this game.
Yeah, and no, a lot of this, what this is going to provide is it's going to allow them to safely push out minion wave, stall for the inhibitor to come back in, and give time for the members of Azura to scale up a little bit more. Aurelia definitely likes to have 2 or 3 items. Kaisa, the more items, the better. But by no means necessary, as you were mentioning, is this game completely turned around, because the likes of Soulbound Lightning still do like to scale themselves. They do have the Sivir. They have the Orianna, who's doing extremely well for herself, does not have a Rabadon yet, which would be a great pickup at this current moment, but definitely provides a little bit of hope for Azura Gaming here, and more importantly, gives them time to slow down the game and get themselves back into control a little bit.
Yep, and I think that once the Cannon and the Aurelia, and to some degree the Silas, get a little bit stronger, then we might actually be seeing some team fights being a little bit closer. I don't really personally like the Gunblade as much as something like a Proto Belt for Kennen. Just allows him to get more mobility on the champion and more of an ability to actually go for some burst as opposed to single target. But this is the first pick that they're looking for right now. Gonna have to block out the Kled ult.
XV Shaman going his way onto Senior Picante. Kled ultimate stolen by the Silas to chase down the Kled, who's using his ultimate to run away from the Silas. That is going to be the Aurelia ultimate also committed here. Senior Picante dropping low. He's going to be forced off of Scarl in just a second. There it is. Exiled V Shaman though is not able to pick that one up as Triarch finishes off the kill. But meanwhile, in the bot lane this entire time, the rest of Soulbound Lightning is able to pick up the inhibitor turret, and they're going to pick up a second inhibitor, though their first one has respawned, but that is now 2 open inhibs, 1 down, only for a kill onto the Kled in the top side.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because that Baron was stolen. It was taken without any kind of Baron pressure from the side of Soulbound Lightning. I don't want to say that it's a terrible trade. It's kind of the best thing you could do. I don't personally think that they would have been able to defend that push themselves anyway. So just going for any kind of a play. It did seem like a bit of an overchase by Asura, but at least they were able to get that kill and not get traded back by Kled. He was looking pretty strong. It seemed like if he was given a little bit more time, might have been able to take down Exiled v Shaman, but the reward for that will be this mid lane outer tower finally going down. Nautilus ult hijacked away yet again.
Yeah, and that was just the pure tempo play coming out by Azura there. They knew that the likes of Soulbound Lightning had backed off after their play in the bot side, so they quickly picked up their minion wave mid and shoved it out in order to get a little bit of extra gold back in their pocket. Starting to even out a little bit more. It's only a 4,000k gold lead at this point, which is better than it was before, but still not great. As a scorer, though, looking so good for for Soulbound Lightning here at 16-3.
And I think the big thing to note, though, is that the gold lead hasn't really changed. Oh, well,
Treyarch getting jumped on. Nautilus ult being used in order to keep him from getting over the wall, and he's going to be falling down here as it gets donated over to Waija. Jungler down for Azura Gaming, and that is 40 seconds on his health bar. Charge being popped by Senior Picante. He's trying to find his way out to any member of Azura, but instead is going to do enough to zone them off of the inhibitor here as the second inhib falls down.
And, you know, if you're Asura, you can't get caught out like that. I feel like this is the 3rd or 4th time we've seen an individual player on the side of Asura just not in the right place at the right time. Just kind of keep thinking that they have the ability to walk through their jungle when in reality it's not really their jungle anymore. And Soulbound Lightning doing a really good job of clamping down on that and getting these picks every single time they get the opportunity.
Yeah, and it's a shame to see them being picked off there because they had the Baron suit, which is great, but then just time and time again they're finding one member out of position or they're committing too many members to a single play, whereas Soulbound Lightning, they're grouping up as 4. They're noticing when people are out of position, taking the picks for free, as well as being able to get counter plays in whenever Azura is trying to create pressure on the map. So fantastic job by Soulbound Lightning here, just doing a great job reading the map, reading the plays that Azura wants to try and make, and countering with their own.
And this is going to be another really big Baron, especially for the side of Asura. It looks like the Sylas is actually a level up on Jarvan, so slightly better smite in the 50-50. Might not actually be as surprised if he's able to get this smite steal again if he's given the opportunity. I feel like Soulbound Lightning is going to be a little bit cleaner around how they go about this. They already have all 5 people grouped up here, not giving too much of an opening for Sylas to move in.
Looks like Brush going a little bit forward. He does find the hook onto the Leona, but that's not the best person. Expert jumping onto the back line as Nax is able to find a great slicing Maelstrom. So much heavy damage being done around the map, but Luigi Match picks up the first kill of the fight with a great shockwave on his own. Aurelia finds the first kill. That is going to be a lot of AoE damage. Kled, though, picks up the Aurelia instead. As the entire time on the top side of the fight, 7 is taking the 1v1 versus Luigi Mash. He's able to pick up a kill for himself. He's cutting out X4. Doing fantastic kill there using the passive with that Goonsu's Rage Play. But Nax, now caught out 1v2, gets picked off by the Kled charge. As a really close fight there, 3 for 4, but is going to be Brush and Senior Picante left alive. Is 7 going to be able to hold this one off? He gets the back. It's taking a little bit of time to heal in Fountain. Now he has to come out and try and stop this push.
Leona's up in 3 seconds. They should be able to take this first tower, but I don't think they're going to be able to take the second. And, you know, what a team fight by Asura right there. When pretty much all hope was down, they somehow win that team fight.
And I mean, I think that does come down to the fact that for once we saw Azura grouped up as 5. We haven't seen their full 5v5 be played out there. And so X-Forge went in deep. They had a little bit of a stall before Luigi Mash could get the Orianna combo there, but Nax came in huge with that slicing Maelstrom, and that just led into Exiled v Shaman coming in with an excellent Aurelia ult, and really just the amount of AoE team fighting that we saw going on in this fight was massive by both sides, but it was just a little bit better on the side of Azura. So despite the fact that they're so far behind, they came out fairly even in that team fight.
And I think another big thing to kind of note is all of the initiation and all of the like point and click CC that Soulbound Lightning had in that team fight, there was no damage to actually follow that up. We saw really good engage and a really good start to the fight by Soulbound with X-Forged and Brush using both of their ultimates onto the back line. Nautilus ult going through 3 and then the Jarvan Cataclysm onto the back 2. The issue was the Slicing Maelstrom zoned off Waija and Luigi Mash from being able to follow up any play and any damage with that. So because of that, Kai'Sa was able to Killer Instinct out of the Jarvan Cataclysm and just kite out the rest of the fight.
Oh no, Great Cataclysm comes in. That's going to be an amazing shockwave. They're able to pick up 7 off the very start of that fight. Second is also going to be dropping down to Luigi Mash there. Triarch takes the charge. He's going to be going down. Triple kill for Luigi Mash. And as you were saying, you know, excellent team fight with no real, what you're saying, excellent engage by Soulbound Lightning with no real follow-up. That time they had the follow-up.
They're really trying to cut the minion wave, but I don't believe it's going to work. And just as we were praising Asura for being able to find that really nice fight, just immediately engaged and snapped on by Soulbound Lightning with this super minion, I fully expect them to be able to end this, especially with that Demolish proc from the Kled. Looks like Soulbound Lightning is going to be the victors of this second game, as Aurelia can do nothing but just watch from the lane.
And that is going to be the second win of the night, going over to Soulbound Lightning there. And that is honestly such a huge pickup by the side of Soulbound Lightning there, because what this means is they saved themselves from relegation, sitting near the bottom of the Lunar Conference. Picking up this win is huge towards keeping their dreams alive for next season. If they're able to pick up enough wins, they may be able to make a playoff run and try and get into playoffs. But as of right now, what this really just does for them is it makes them a little bit safer from being relegated next season.
Yeah, it definitely gives themselves a little bit of a cushion. I think even if they play 3 games, they still have the ability to be above Ylon Gaming, who is currently sitting at 7th, just because they would end the season at 6 and 9 total if they lost those next 3 games, but should be able to keep themselves in that season 4 seeding position. So very good game by them, taking down Asura now as well. Just kind of opening up, I feel like, the top of the Solar Conference just a little bit more.
Yeah, and with that, we're going to go ahead and throw it over to a quick break as we get set up and ready for game 3 of the night. Should be starting fairly soon here, as we do have, as it is already past 10:30, so we'll go ahead and get that set up as quickly as we can for you guys, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back as we're hopping into the third and final game of the night. But this time it's going to be between United States Air Force Academy versus Cosmic Insight. On the blue side, we have USAFA, and on the red side, Cosmic Insight, with the quick bans coming out already: Morgana, Rakan, Zaya, and the Kennen, Jinzao, and Pike being banned out.
Yeah, and kind of interesting actually to see both the Zaya and the Rakan and the Morgana being banned out on the blue side. Generally not what we would typically see, but it was so that the U.S. Air Force could pick up the Hecarim in the first pick for themselves. Actually, quite a couple of champions being picked up across the board for both sides that don't really see a lot of play, and a little bit of a pivot on what we would normally see in the meta. The Galio top lane, the Darius top lane into that, and then Zoe, Cassiopeia in the mid lane. Two champions that I think are actually pretty good. They're just not as high priority in the meta. And then even the Hecarim as well. We haven't really seen a lot of that either, even though it also is a pretty strong pick.
Yeah, and just so the audience is aware, they already did this in Pro Draft. We're just kind of going through it again. Pro Draft can be a little bit hard to follow sometimes, and it's difficult to work with, so this is much easier to do for us. That being said, last ban coming out are going to be Fiora, TF, Akali, and somebody dodge. Woo!
Client Crash.
Client Crash.
A staple of League of Legends, if I've ever seen one.
We're going to go ahead and try and get this one figured out as quickly as possible for you guys, so don't go anywhere. We're going to go ahead and throw it back to a quick break, or actually, looks like they already have it figured out.
Round two.
So, round two. Fight. That being said, we can just kind of go through the general idea of what these team comps were wanting to do, because we already saw a majority of what it was. It looks like United States Air Force, their last couple of pickups for the bot lane was the Lucian Braum, and then for the side of Cosmic Insight, their bot lane was the Kaisa Nautilus. So with that in mind, what do you make of these team comps that these two teams have drafted?
I like the 4v4 of both teams, and I don't like the top lane choices by both teams. I feel like I've already had my opinions of Darius. He's really good in solo queue. He's very strong to use tanks in top lane and just melee versus melee matchups in general. I don't like him in competitive scenario or environments, mostly because he just kind of falls off. He's sort of the middle tier of both split push and team fight, where he's a juggernaut. Sure, if he's able to get like a 3-man plus Q in any kind of team fight, he's going to heal up a lot and stall out. It's just difficult for him to actually stack his passive once you get into the team fighting phase, so not a big fan. Galio got pretty gutted in terms of his utility, so he was kind of forced out of the, looks like we have a Yasuo, that's probably going to be a remake as well. Even more time to talk about this.
Oh boy.
Champ select is hard.
Apparently. Yeah, champion select is hard. So, Darius on the top side of the map, not for competitive, is for solo queue. Solo queue good, competitive bad. Got it. Galio, though. I think we saw this one either last week or... Yeah, I think we saw it last week where they had the Galio top, or it might have been last night. I don't like it, but we saw it win. So...
Yeah, there's two routes you can kind of go with the Galio. The more full AP version of him. I know that a lot of his ratios and just damage in general, it got buffed. Like, it's been slowly, incrementally buffed over time. So I feel like Galio's kind of ping-ponged from going back between like full AP versus like better as a tank, back and forth kind of a thing. And right now I'm not really sure where he lands, mostly because it doesn't really feel like a lot of his utility is as useful as it used to be. The fact that his taunts can now be interrupted by CC makes him a lot harder to play around. Not impossible, but definitely a bit more tough for him. I think in the 1v1 this Darius is absolutely going to abuse the Galio, like, super hard. I fully expect a level 1, maybe level 2 First Blood, like, depending on how aggressive Feels Batman actually plays the Darius in this case. Just because I think Darius just has such a huge advantage over the melee top lane in a 1v1, and Galio doesn't really have a way of getting out. His Justice Punch can be blocked pretty easily. His W can be interrupted by the Darius hook if he chooses for something like that early on, so no real easy way of stopping this Darius from stacking up the stacks. Across the rest of the board, though, I definitely like the picks for Cosmic Insight and US Air Force Academy.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and hop into this. I was about to type in 3rd time's the charm, but looks like they already started the queue. So, top lane matchup, it's going to be interesting. You like the 4v4 coming out from the rest of the side of the map. I think that the bot lane is going to be very interesting. We've seen this matchup multiple times now. Lucian really coming back into prevalence for a lot of these teams. I'm surprised to see so many teams picking up the Lucian Braum. I'm not sure if they buffed him recently. I don't think that they did anything substantial enough in order to make him necessarily meta again. So why do you think that we're seeing so many teams running this Lucian Braum in the bot lane?
I would say generally it's just a really strong 2v2. Lucian, even though he's definitely not like S tier as an AD carry, I would argue that in some matchups and specific matchups, he can be about like A+ tier. And whenever you pair Lucian with a Braum, good things happen whenever you look for a brawl around around any kind of dragon, around any kind of neutral objective like Rift Herald if you rotate correctly. And just in the pure 2v2, if there's any good champion, or like if there's any good matchups for the Braum specifically, it's very easy to actually punish that. I personally think that the Nautilus is a pick that is very difficult to play into Braum because the whole point of Nautilus is to engage and go in, whereas Braum wants you to go in so that he can stack passive stacks on top of you. Between him and Lucian, it's very easy. I think that Lucian versus Kai'Sa in the pure 1v1 is very Lucian favored until Kai'Sa gets a couple of items under her belt. When the Lucian hits that, I think it's a Bork and Black Cleaver Power Spike, that's when he's definitely at his strongest in the 1v1 against the Kai'Sa. Just kind of across the board, I feel like the 2v2 of Air Force Academy is just slightly better than the Kai'Sa Nautilus. It will obviously depend on how well the Kai'Sa Nautilus play, because if they're able to find hooks onto the Lucian, if they're able to find him isolated, and they get the Kai'Sa passive stacked up very quickly, there is burst potential and there is an ability for them to win that 2v2, but I feel like this is going to be the same way that I think it was the first game went with that Lucian Braum, where Lucian Braum just constantly shove in this Kai'Sa, don't really give her too much room to breathe throughout the laning phase, and with that pressure, they'll be able to help the Hecarim move around into the jungle to try to get vision and try to get this Sylas out of his role.
Yeah, and with that, we're going to be wrapping up the champion select here. We have finally hit the point where all champions are locked in correctly. We know where things are going. Everyone got in this time without any issues, so we're going to go ahead and go to a quick break as we wait for the spectator delay to wait out. It's just going to be a few minutes here, guys, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
So unashamed of the hurricanes that you cause, so unafraid, so untamed, a wild storm, delicately fracturing my heart. Effortlessly tearing me apart. Nothing can protect me from your wild love. From your wild love. From your wild delicately fracturing my heart. Effortlessly tearing me apart. Nothing can protect me from your wild love. From your wild love. From your wild love. Nothing can protect me from your wild love. From your wild love. From your wild love. Nothing can protect me from your wild love.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back as we are in the third and final game of the night. My name is Loud Thoughts. I'm joined by Obongo, and on the blue side, we have the U.S. Air Force Academy team with Rhinoceros playing Galio in the top lane, Truffles with the Hecarim jungle, Shaba Moon with Cassiopeia mid, and Shillage and Igo Chaman with the Lucian Braum bot.
Yep, and on the red side, it's going to be their opponent's Cosmic Insight. That's Feels Batman with the Darius in the top lane, ETP with the Silas jungle, Assorted Fruits going with the Zoe in the mid lane, and Wicklebear and Zayax on that Kaisa and the Nautilus bot lane.
This time around, looking at where the junglers are starting, for the third in game, we are having, again, the offset jungle pathing. It looks like red buff is just kind of the way to start at the moment. I think a lot of that comes down to not so much the buff that you get, but more the fact that you're close to the Krugs, which have been such a huge part of the current jungle pathing meta due to just the sheer amount of EXP that they give you in the early game.
Yep, that is definitely the motivation for wanting to start on the Krug side, even if it's not necessarily going to give you the best leash, it will give you the best potential XP. And you obviously want to get those Krugs down as quickly as possible to just keep recycling them as more XP for yourselves. And it'll be very interesting. I feel like Feels Batman is actually taking the right approach.
Great hook coming out by Zayax, though. Hate to cut you off there, but Shield is dropping extremely low.
And that's what we were talking about in Champ Select, of being a way for them to be able to actually win this lane, is finding the hooks onto this Lucian, getting themselves an advantage for themselves. And I'm actually kind of happy to see that this Galio is going more towards the AP so far with that Doran's Ring for himself. I think that that actually gives him some pretty decent burst damage to go up against. Oh, actually blowing the cleanse early on in the lane. That's going to be pretty big, I feel like, as we get into the mid game and more of the early game so far, just because of that blown cleanse for Cassiopeia. Any kind of bubble hit will allow pretty easy gank or just a pretty big burst of damage.
Ooh, that being said, the forced flash out of Assorted Fruits here, he's going to be taking a lot of damage. He's going to be going down. Yes, Shaba Moon is able to pick up the first blood. So despite the fact that he had no cleanse, it was Hecarim that made the first gank, and Truffles gives first blood to Shaba Moon.
And then up in the top side, Darius gets his 5 stacks down onto the Galio.
Oh, the flash forward, though. Whew. Feels Batman going very aggressive there. Almost had him, forcing the flash out of Rhinoceros, though.
Yeah, a little bit aggressive. I feel like if he had been charging that Q before he flashed, it would have been maybe he might actually had a chance to go for the kill right there. But flash for flash being traded up in the top side, I think that actually favors the Darius because now he still has that ghost in tow. What I was going to say before was I like going ghost and flash on the Darius rather than the TP. If you're going to play a champion that's very good at this solo lane experience of just trying to absolutely bully and go for kills as much as possible, that ghost gives you the better opportunity for that kind of play.
A lot of trading going down on the bottom side of the map. Algo Chanma taking a lot of damage from that Nautilus hook. Sure, he can throw up the Braum shield to reduce some of that damage, but that passive from Kaisa just puts in so much work, especially early on. It will chunk opposing players, and so a lot of back and forth across the map, really, we've seen so far, but only that one kill in the middle lane up at this point.
Yep, and actually, nice
that's a lot of damage coming down on a Wickle Bear, though. Force a flash away, double flash coming in as a return, as Ego Chanma is able to pick up that one. Zayax left all alone. Shillage is extremely low, though. Is Zayax going to be able to pick up this one? He is not! Sliver Puff left for the Lucian, but Braum is able to pick up the double kill. Meanwhile, Truffle's on the top side, forcing Feels Batman to blow the Ghost there as he takes the 2v1 and makes it out alive.
And that's kind of where the strength of the Lucian Braum comes from. If you're able to tag that Kaisa with the Winter's Bite on Braum, we saw it immediately, no hesitation, actually going for the play right here. I feel like this is actually something that can be outplayed.
No, it looks like Rhinoceros is just going to pick up that one. Barely makes it out of turret range, I'll say there. It was dropped extremely low to that last turret shot, but fantastically done there. And as you were saying, no hesitation by the US Air Force there to make that turret dive happen.
Yeah, and it looked like, I guess, that Darius just didn't have the time to be able to wind up the Q. I think if he actually got that off, he would have been able to win that 1v2 for himself. So he actually in a bit of trouble, but only to be assisted by the Silas right here.
More fighting going on in the mid lane. Shabamoon. They're just going to
I
let him walk away for free there.
Yeah, I think that ATP flash... I think he tried to flash to get his abduct chains off, but it actually flashed him in front of a minion, I think, because he didn't really move anywhere and he blew that flash, so actually kind of unlucky for him right there. Probably would have been able to get a kill, but yeah, just a series of unfortunate events in the mid lane. All of them seem to be going in the favor, though, of the US Air Force Academy.
Yeah, definitely an unfortunate interaction for ETP there. Misate is no longer going to have access to that flash. But as you're seeing, so much of this going in advantage of United States Air Force. They are currently sitting at about 2,500 gold lead at just 6 minutes into the game. The first dragon has spawned onto the map, and it is an Infernal Drake. But despite the advantages that US Air Force has in terms of gold right now, that ward coverage coming out by Cosmic Insight near that dragon is on point.
Yeah, we'll see if that's going to be able to net them anything in particular. It just feels like the tempo is so much more in favor. Oh, big trade actually going down. That's the power of that AP build that I was looking for from this Galio.
Yeah,
So much damage being chunked out because of that max HP ticking from his Winds of War. So that's the one way I felt. That's the one way I felt like the Galio would be able to win against the Darius, is if he gets to a point where he can kind of outpoke him and never have to interact. But as we saw in the early game, Darius definitely has that ability to run him down.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember the time when full AP Galio would absolutely demolish people with the shred, but we do have a gank going on bot side. Truffle's coming in to try and pick this one up. He does get the kill onto Zayax underneath the turret with that charge. Had a little bit of help from Shalish and his press the attack, but that means that the jungler and the rest of the bot lane for United States Air Force have a little bit of free time on this bot lane turret and the platings that it has available.
So that was really unfortunate for Zayax right there. He missed the hook and ended up hooking himself to a minion while that Braum passive was already on top of him. So that's why he was just so easily taken down. Because of that kill, they are going to be able to net themselves this Infernal Dragon for themselves. Very big for the side of US Air Force Academy with just how much damage they have on their team.
Yeah, and a massive lead already coming in at just 8 minutes for the US Air Force here, doing a fantastic job in this early game laning phase so far. We'll have to see if they're able to transition it well into the mid game. as they do have the Lucian that can kind of carry them through that mid-game phase, and the Cassiopeia who's going to be so ridiculously strong later on.
Yep, and this Galio is just kind of slowly scaling for himself. He's actually sitting down in bot lane. I think they're trying to bait a fight where he can use Hero's Entrance, but that's a lot of gold he's missing out on the top side right there. Doesn't have a TP, so not able to get back up there to help. Looks like they're actually going to be doubling down on this play. But, you know, the longer they wait for this kind of a play, the less likely they're going to be able to net much out of it as they're going for this. Maybe they'll try to go for a tower dive underneath. See, Nautilus is not level 6.
I would expect that the Braum should be moving up here to play this one aggressively. Instead, just throw the Q and back away from it. I guess they're waiting on the Hecarim to come in from the backside of this fight as Truffles is showing up. Sylas did steal away the ultimate. That is going to be a lot of CC dropping down onto the Hecarim, who's forced to dash away defensively. Onslaught of Shadows used to keep himself alive, but it is not going to be enough as he falls down. Rhinoceros, though, able to finally get his ultimate off, gets in there and picks up a kill for himself.
And, you know, I don't think that that's worth it at all. You're just giving Darius so much time on this top side to go for tower plates. Sure, you might be getting some more pressure onto this bot tower, but you're already winning in that regard, and Galio not really able to do much, already getting slept.
Huge shot coming about by a Sword of Fruits there, and the flash over the wall means that Xyx is able to find the pull onto Galio, and giving the shutdown go over to Assorted Fruits on the Zoe. That is a big mistake.
Yeah, and now Darius just gets even more free time up in this top lane. Oh, I don't know about this. I think that he's going to be able to turn this around. Pops the Ghost.
Oh, absolutely. That is the Ghost Pop. He still has access to the ultimate. There's the dunk. Darius picks up the first kill. Rhinoceros teleports into the top side. Immediately has to walk the opposite direction. Afraid that Darius might have been able to see that one and get the reset going. Rhinoceros sees that feels Batman has no mana. Goes in. Wings of War is thrown out, but maybe Rhinoceros just is afraid of Feels Batman here. He could have absolutely taken that fight if he so chose to.
I don't know if he would have had enough damage. He definitely had the mana advantage. I think that Feels Batman could have actually gone for a kill there, even with the ultimate. I think it timed out right at the end there. But Darius is definitely not a slouch in this kind of a situation. He only has double Doran's ring for himself, so it's not like he has a huge amount of damage. He's going to be able to pick up that tower plate and probably another one of those extra auto attack damage. But yeah, I'm still a little bit baffled how much time they committed this Galio down into the bot lane for. Didn't really seem like a lot of net gains in that regard.
Yeah, if anything, they gave over a couple of extra kills. Feels Batman going in aggressively on Rhinoceros, but they don't know that Shabba Moon is there, and he's going to be going in forward, gets the ultimate, gets the knock-up, and that is just such great CC train coming out by the side of US Air Force. That being said, on the bot side, Nautilus lands on to Algo Chamna because Shillage had flashed away from the depth charge. A lot blown on the bot side of the map. Assorted Fruits getting jumped on mid lane, though. Truffles uses the Onslaught of Shadows, forces the flash away by Assorted Fruits there. Goes back in, gets a lot of damage down. Bubble, if it landed, would have meant the kill, but unfortunately just missed the wall, so was not going to able to get the extra range on it.
Oh, Sylas is going to be able to kill him right here.
Oh, you hate to see that. ETP picking that one up as he just walks into the opposing jungle.
That's really greedy pathing right there by the side of Truffles. Literally at 1 HP essentially right there, just going back to your jungle. You gotta know that the Sylas is gonna be around and already going for a repeat gank round 2 right here.
Yeah, and that's gonna be the repeat gank coming in. This time Shilish does not have a flash available. ETP gets a lot of damage down onto the Braum. He's gonna be falling down. Shutdown actually given over to Xyx. Unfortunate that the Nautilus is able to pick up that one. It would have been much better on the Sylas or Kaisa, but regardless, that kill's a kill.
Yeah, and I think that was actually a redemption from Zoe being thrown in there too, so even an assist going over to her as well in this lane, and looks like they're actually going to be lane swapping. I think they're sending the Cassio top lane to face the Darius, but he's actually taking the initiative and going around into the mid lane. Does have the flash, almost has the Ghost.
Yeah, that's going to be the sleep landing down onto this Galio. Feels Batman trying to stall enough time for Sword Fruit to get there. Uses the W. You cannot flash away while your W is charging. Rhinoceros finally gets a flash off, but that is going to be the follow-up and the dunk coming up by Feels Batman there. Just waited a little too long on that flash.
Yeah, that was definitely... I think that was a really good play, actually, by Feels Batman. I don't think it was too much of an overextend. He probably doesn't expect the Darius to be coming in through there, but actually going to be in a bit of a trouble right now is this Cassiopeia.
The Ghost used Flash immediately from
nice
Shaman Moon, but unfortunately, the pull lands, and that is going to be another shutdown, this time going over to ETP. The turret dive on the bot side of the map, though, Shillage is completely left out alone, and a great CC train by Syax there means that they are able to pick up yet another kill on the bottom side, and this game is slowly turning around in favor for Cosmic Insight.
More resources are being put by US Air Force Academy down into this bot lane.
Truffles on the bot side of the map. Wicklebear getting kited out. The Onslaught of Shadows, great job. Double field there, but the Killer Instinct is able to keep Wicklebear barely alive. Oh, just barely off time there by Rhinoceros. He has the dash forward, uses the Proto Belt, but the pickup for the kill goes to Ego Chamna as Braum Q finds the kill there. A lot of damage being dropped on the Xyx, and one last Winter Bite means another double kill for the Braum.
This is just chaos going back and forth right here between both teams. All of them just committing as many resources as they can, and then the counter punch from the other team just kind of coming in late there. But yeah, it's just a lot of action going on. This bot tower does eventually fall now for the side of US Air Force Academy. Probably going to be able to transition that into this Mountain Dragon, but even with the even kill score, it is still about a 1.5 to almost 2k gold lead for Air Force.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes down to just the fact that they made their plays earlier. They got the first brick, they have an extra turret, as well as the fact that they had the first blood bonus gold. So a lot of this gold advantage that they have is coming down to the fact that just the plays they made came in before that of Cosmic Insight. That being said, a more aggressive plays coming up by US Air Force. Shaman Moon is able to pick up the first kill of this fight. Wicklebear there on the backside is able to pick up the Lucian. That's going to be Feels Batman getting another kill onto Rhinoceros. The dunk is used, but no reset is found. Truffles is extremely low. Darius has fallen down himself, but another kill over to Wicklebear as a flash forward for the depth charge means that Wicklebear is going to be able to pick up a third kill of this fight, and that is a great cleanup by the side of Cosmic Insight as they're able to find 4 for 2 at the end of the day.
Yep, and even though they were able to pick off the Zoe initially, Air Force Academy just didn't have enough in the trunk after that to go for any kind of a play. The rest of the side of Cosmic Insight was all funneled together around that blue buff area, so they were just able to kind of use their mass of 4 teammates to just push in to the river and force themselves into a fight victory right there. Definitely a big commitment. Cassiopeia ult, I believe, was burned going for the Zoe at the initial part, so there was no ability for her to actually go for any kind of counter engage as they were getting chased down. So even more plays going over now to the side of Cosmic Insight, where it felt like US Air Force Academy had a pretty good stranglehold, actually. Well, now that I say that.
Rhinoceros getting a good amount of damage on Xyx, and he's barely going to be able to get the taunt landing there, which means he picks up the kill. Xyx falling down. But as you were saying, Cosmic Insight, it feels like a lot of the plays US Air Force is going for is either taking too long or it is getting swung back in favor of Cosmic Insight, where there seems to be a little bit more snap and control on the red side team here. That being said, Shaman Moon does not find the Petrify onto Feels Batman. He's cutting this one around, doing an excellent job, and doesn't even have to use the ultimate here in order to pick up the 1v1 kill onto the Cassiopeia as a Darius.
Yeah, that's pretty good. She actually even had the ability. Never
Sorted
mind.
for getting jumped on, Coling being used, but the Sleepy Trouble Bubble solves it now. Onslaught of Shadows comes in, and Truffles is able to find the pickup on the back of that fight. ETP trying to get a return kill. Wicklebear comes in with an amazing Killer Instinct, is able to finish that one off. ETP stalling for time, though. They use the Blast Cone. Double of them are get safe. Braum is left alone here, but he has to back away.
Yep, just traded kills going back and forth. This one's still in the favor of Cosmic Insight at the end of it all. And just even more back and forth like we were talking about from that last Dragon fight, where it feels like one team kind of goes in, they get an initial pick, but they overextend. They just use too much of their resources, and they don't position themselves in a way where they can get out. They overcommit, and because of that, they open themselves up to a position where they're able to be counter-engaged on. And that fight right there was a perfect encapsulation of what we've been seeing going on throughout this game. And yet again,
more picks. Wicklebear this time being the one being picked off. Shutdown gold, give it over to Shillage here. Xyx uses the hook. He is stunned up, and Ignite drop. And that's going to be another kill going over to the Braum as the Sleepy Trouble Bubble doing a lot of damage underneath this turret. A great Q by Assorted Fruit. He's trying to keep this one going. Goes forward using his ultimate. Is able to stop the charge out by Rhinoceros, but uses the W to keep himself alive. ETP though with the burst picks up Shillage. Galio is dropped in order trying to keep this Braum alive, but he is going to be going down. Triple kill off of the passive from Silas, is able to clean up the end side of that fight as what looked like an excellent pick by US Air Force is actually turned up into favor of Cosmic Insight.
Yeah, and yet again, it's just another play where U.S. Air Force goes for an initial play, they get something out of it, but they overextend, they stay there too long, and they get immediately punished yet again by a Cosmic Insight. Goes over and over again. It's very surprising to see this trend just continuing as the game goes on, but really big damage coming out by Assorted Fruits and ETP.
Yeah, and really that Silas playing the edge of that fight so well, dropping extremely low but continuing forward, and we were surprised by that passive damage and being able to pick up both Truffles and Ago Chamna there. Fantastic job turning that one around by Cosmic Insight. They're going to be able to get a little bit of ward coverage, not a whole lot off the back of that fight, but they finally are sitting with a gold advantage for themselves. 18-15 with 1,500 gold in favor of Cosmic Insight for the first time this game.
Yep, getting this outer tower in mid lane, finally have all of those towers broken for themselves, and going to be trying to move their vision control up into this top side. A lot of good backdooring wards for the side of Cosmic Insight, though. Lots of good opportunities for a flank in vision, but no teleports actually on their side, so they're just going to have to go in from the front. And nice bubble landing onto the Cassiopeia.
Yeah, Shaba Moon taking so much damage is going to be dropping down immediately to Wicklebear, and that's going to be another great pick onto Ago Chamna there. He's going to be dropping down 2 quick kills for Cosmic Insight. They're going for it. ETP finds the CC onto Rhinoceros. He's going to be slowed. He's going to get double dunked, and that is Feels Batman coming in at the end of that fight with a double kill for himself using those Therius resets.
Yeah, just a little bit out of position yet again. They don't have that mid-outer tower, so they shouldn't really feel as safe as they were, and getting punished yet again for that play. Now they're going to be able to push in with Cosmic Insight. Oh my god. So much damage coming out from this Zoe. Just that single paddle star landing is going to be able to grant them the inhib. So much pressure from that champion and her poke coming out. Lucian, still a very squishy champion, even though he has some strong early game.
We have not seen a whole lot of Zoe in the recent meta, mainly due to the types of champions that are currently strong, which are things that have a lot of engage, a lot of teamfight, a lot of scrappiness. But this champion still does a ridiculous amount of damage. They're able to find the downtown Qs, really, and that's exactly what we saw happen to the Shylage there. He took an auto attack from the empowered Zoe passive, as well as that Q, and 3/4 of his health instantly deleted just off of that. So that means that an inhibitor is going to be falling down. A lot of pressure going for Cosmic Insight now.
Yeah, and this Ocean Dragon is being started up. Galio already at half HP. I have a very difficult time seeing this fight going any other way than it has been going before. Engage coming in from the Nautilus. Braum
is getting jumped on immediately here. Galio tries to use his ultimate to try and keep him alive, but Feels Batman gets the first kill of this teamfight. Rhinoceros forces Zanyas. That's going to be a double kill, but the Darius finally falls down. Cassiopeia is able to pick that one up. Shaba Moon doing a great job at kiting this one out, but it doesn't matter because ATP is able to get on top of him. Is he going to be able to find a second fight? No, what are you doing? You got to get one more Twin Fangs into him, and Shaba Moon is not able to kill ETP there, and that is going to be a clean ace only for the life of your Darius.
Yep, he tried to go for too many things at once right there. I've seen it happen a lot of times before, and because of that, the Kingslayer ability was back off cooldown. Gave him such a huge amount of health, and basically goes from a potential 1v3 getting 3 kills to getting none of them as the end result. And yeah, kind of saw that setup coming from the beginning. Very tunneled on getting that Ocean Dragon. They did secure it for themselves, but Air Force Academy quickly routed after that fight yet again.
Yeah, and one thing I will say is that there wasn't a whole lot that Cosmic Insight got out of that at the end of the day. They didn't rotate over to the Baron. They didn't get any kind of extra turrets. All what they really got out of that play was a little bit of extra gold in their pockets. So, you know, not the worst of outcomes for the US Air Force. But to sacrifice that much for just an Ocean Drake, really not the best call either. So it could have gone a lot worse in either direction there. So that being said, Baron is on the map. It's 23 minutes into the game. A 3,000 gold lead, or 3,500 gold lead for Cosmic Insight, and a lot of wards on that top side of the map.
I actually really think that this Cassiopeia
Oh,
is
hold on to Shadow Moon getting jumped on. That is going to be a great amount of CC thrown out to try and stall this one out. Nautilus Hook does not land, but Darius is able to pick up the first 2 kills of this fight. Is he going to be able to find the triple? Looks like the bleed out's going to be coming in. Wicklebear also dashing into the back of that fight, and they're able to clean this one up for quick kills. For Cosmic Insight, they're going to try and end this one over. They have a couple of minions here. They're just going to be running it down into the base as Truffles is the only one left alive. I do not think he's going to be able to stall this one out. First Nexus turret is going to be dropping down here. Truffles does go in, but he immediately gets popped. It is not enough. That is going to be the ace. That is going to be the second Nexus turret, and that is going to be the game.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I think I just caster cursed Cassiopeia mid-sentence right there. I was going to say that I thought that the Cassiopeia from that last fight would have actually been able to carry fights in a more traditional sense, but to be completely honest, it was pretty sloppy from both sides, and I think that the comp of Cosmic Insight definitely benefited a little bit more from that sloppiness. And yeah, just because of that, they were able to find another nice pick, the Nautilus ult going down onto the Cassiopeia. I feel like something like a Banshee's Veil might have been a better third item for her, just out of self-peel and protection, because it just denies the ability to actually get engaged on by the Nautilus. And yeah, just at the end of the day, it felt like the side of Cosmic Insight, they got behind pretty convincingly at the beginning to Air Force Academy, but they found a lot of picks and, more importantly, a lot of counter-engage fights after the aggression of the Air Force Academy going on them.
Yeah, and I think you owe this Darius an apology. He was doing work that entire game.
I do not. I absolutely do not. That is not the result of Darius being a strong champion. That is the result of Cosmic Insight just winning a lot of scrappy fights and having a Galio top lane mostly.
Well, you got to give it to him as well. He did a fantastic job in a lot of those fights. A lot of the times cleaning up a good amount of those kills. That's just kind of the scrappy nature of Darius, though. And a lot of these team fights, as you mentioned, were very scrappy, which ended up working more for the side of Cosmic Insight. As you mentioned, they did a fantastic job playing around their strengths, playing around the champions that they needed to be playing around. And I think it all kind of just blew up once they started getting those first few kills, especially when Galio just spent so much time bot lane with that initial play. It kind of stalled. It really just stalled the advantages that US Air Force had and threw away whatever lead they were starting to develop because of the amount of pressure that they lost there.
Yeah, and I think that with the way that the fights were going and with the team comp that Cosmic Insight actually drafted, it does enable Darius slightly better than what we would normally see. I actually do still think that Ghost Flash was the difference maker for him to actually be a lot more useful, just because it gives him so much more mobility within fights to actually go for something. We already know Galio is going to be grouping as 5 with the rest of his team, so you need something that isn't so much side lane pressure focus heavy to kind of give yourself a little bit more of an edge. I think between Nautilus, Zoe Bubble, and Silas Abscon Abduct being able to kind of lock down whatever target he goes for a pull, it's very easy for them to get those initial picks off. The Galio is really just so susceptible to any kind of CC because he kind of just sits there and doesn't really have too much of an impact. Hecarim is supposed to dive in, so that's a pretty easy target to single out. And then Braum, he's just a little bit out of position a lot of those fights around Dragon specifically, which gave Darius a lot more of an avenue to look for plays when they wanted to go for those fights.
And with that, congratulations to Cosmic Insight for picking up that last win of the night. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here, folks. Thank you for tuning in for Week 5. U.GG sponsors us. Just got to throw their name out there. Look up your champions whenever you need to figure out what to build like I do every single game. That being said, tune in next week, as it's going to be the most intense week yet, because next week both teams only have 2 games to determine whether they're going to playoffs or whether they even have a spot next season. We'll see you guys then.